it just doesn't seem like that's going to be a more productive unit than what we have in Miami. What's going on, guys? Hopefully you're having a good day so far. Welcome back to episode 3 of our depth chart review series.
All right, so I know what you're thinking. This audio sucks. I know. Listen, sometimes I am an idiot. And sometimes when I am an idiot, I forget to save the audio file from my microphone and have to use whatever comes from my camera, which right now is crap. So yeah, back to the show, guys. I'm really sorry. Just wanted to say that and know that next video, it's going to sound much better. So back to it, guys. Enjoy.
Today we're going to be breaking down the wide receivers coming into the 2020 NFL season for the Miami Dolphins according to ESPN's depth chart. We've previously gone over the quarterbacks and the running backs on the depth chart as well. So if you guys would like to check those out, feel free to click a link. I'll put it up here right now for you. So coming into the 2020 NFL season, what the Dolphins are looking like at the wide receiver position, we've got Uncle Devante, the first receiver on the group. You've got Preston Williams as your other boundary. We've got Albert Wilson starting in the slot. We've got Hurn that we're dealing with, Jakeem Grant, Isaiah Ford, and then a handful of other guys who are probably just going to be, sixth stringers and beyond, backups, maybe some special teams guys. So let's start with Devante Parker. Uncle Devante, absolutely dominated last year. He had, in my opinion, a top 10 wide receiver season, and you could even push for top 5 season in the NFL for wide receivers. He caught the ball 72 times for 1,202 yards, 9 touchdowns, and averaged 16.7 per catch. His yards, touchdowns, and average per catch were all within the top 10, and the yards and touchdowns were both within the top 5. Devante Parker easily put up his best season of his entire career, really finally enjoying that breakout season that everyone was waiting for him to have. He earned a new extension because of that, signed a long-term deal with Miami for 3 years, and hopefully he can build on that coming into the 2020 NFL season. I feel really secure and good about Devante Parker, mainly because of the fact that we're going to have some guys coming back from injury. There were a ton of injury concerns on the offensive side of the ball last year, as guys like Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant, Preston Williams, all of these guys, Hurn, they all got hurt and got placed on injured reserve. That really left Devante Parker kind of on an island to be the only guy to get the ball. So now that we've got guys like Preston Williams and Albert Wilson coming back, hopefully Hurn and Jakeem Grant can stay healthy as well. It's going to free up a lot of space on the field for Devante Parker to kind of do what he does a little bit freer. Looking forward to the 2020 NFL season, I'm counting on Devante Parker to again show that he can be a number 1 option in the NFL and really dominate like he did last year. I don't see last year as being a fluke for Devante Parker. Actually, if it even makes sense, I would see almost his first handful of years that he's been in the NFL as a fluke, because you really just can't control the injury issues. Devante Parker has always been a supremely talented wide receiver with a ridiculous skill set, super amazing genetics, and just, all the tools available to dominate. It's just the injuries that have held him back. So if Devante Parker can stay in the field and stay healthy, there's really no limit to what this guy can do for Miami. Okay, moving on. So we got Preston Williams on the other boundary. Very similar to Devante Parker. This guy's 6'5", 218 pounds. He's a young guy, 23 years old, and we all know he was the undrafted rookie coming into Miami last season. And before he got hurt, he was the number 1 receiver on this team. He was catching the ball a ton and is so good at high pointing the ball, so good at moving guys out of the way, that him and Devante Parker, if they both stay healthy on the field, that's a dynamic duo, a 1-2 punch that could be just absolutely vicious on the football field. In 2019, Preston Williams recorded 32 receptions for 428 yards, 3 touchdowns, and averaged 13.4 yards per catch. So going back and doing the math for Preston Williams' season, he did only play in 8 games, so he played about half the season before he tore his ACL and found himself out inactive for the rest of the season. But going and doing the math, he was on pace for a 64 reception season, 856 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, when you're thinking about a rookie, that's a pretty good season. And that only sets him up for success in the future as well, because in the time that Preston Williams was playing, he was really establishing himself as a viable number 1 option for Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen to get the ball to. So, this is a really great situation with Devante Parker and Preston Williams on this Dolphins team, especially considering that by the time Devante Parker is towards the end of his career, Preston Williams is going to be approaching the prime of his. And so it's really a great situation that Miami's found themselves in, and Preston Williams is showing that he can definitely, long-term in the future, become one of those guys who can really just be the number one option on your team and dominate. So you're looking at Devante Parker, Preston Williams, and then you've got Albert Wilson in the slot, and Albert Wilson is a very interesting player to assess. So last year, Albert Wilson in 2019, 43 receptions, 351 yards, 1 touchdown, and then 8.2 yards per catch. Albert Wilson certainly did have a down year compared to what he did in Miami previously the year before, but you also do have to consider the toll that his body has taken when you consider the hip injury that he did sustain. After that hip injury, Albert Wilson definitely seemed to lose a step a little bit. He wasn't as explosive or agile as he used to be, but still he is a decent option in the slot for Miami. He's got decent enough hands, and the question mark, I guess, for him as well is whether he can stay on the field. If Albert Wilson can stay on the field, especially with them restructuring his deal down to $4 million a year, I think he's a decent option to get the ball to. And he's not too old, looking at 27 years old, so he's still got some room to grow. Hopefully he can be on the field and produce some good football for Miami in the 2020 season. Okay, so looking beyond Devante Parker, Preston Williams, and Albert Wilson, we find Allen Hurns, Jakeem Grant, and Isaiah Ford as their backups. Allen Hurns and Isaiah Ford are very similar type players. They're bigger framed guys who really rely a lot on their physical abilities to get the ball. Now, Jakeem Grant's the opposite and a very small, very fast and shifty receiver, but I've really only seen a lot of production in the special teams game with him. So when you're assessing Jakeem Grant, the inconsistency on the offensive side of the ball is something that you have to consider because you just really don't know what you're going to get out of him on a game-to-game basis. He has struggled with drops in the past, and he's also a little bit injury-prone. So what you get out of Jakeem Grant, it really depends on his health and whether he does enough work to keep his hands consistent or not. Now, looking beyond those three, we're looking at Mac Hollins, Ricardo Lewis, Gary Jennings, and then Kirk Merritt as well. Most of these guys are going to find their time on the special teams unit. We've got Gary Jennings, who does show some potential. He's a young guy too, so he might see some time on the football field offensively. But the majority of those guys, I think, are just going to be special teams unit guys, practice squad, backup guys. So we're really focusing on the first 6 there. So when we're talking about these 6 receivers, Devante Parker, Preston Williams, Albert Wilson, Allen Hurns, Jakeem Grant, and Isaiah Ford, I think that is a B-tier type of receiving core with potential to either be better or worse. And the reason I say better or worse is Preston Williams was on track to have a pretty good rookie season, so could be better. He could, improve coming into this year too. He's had some time on the football field. He's got some experience now, so he could take a step up to being even more of a number one option for this team. If Devante Parker stays on the same track and Albert Wilson is able to stay healthy, the receiving core for the Dolphins could take a big leap forward. However, with all of that, you also have to consider the sheer amount of just injury history and potential for re-injury with almost every single one of these guys, only not including Isaiah Ford. Really, when I look at the list, Devante Parker, we all know about him. Preston Williams tears his ACL his rookie season. Albert Wilson has had injury history. Allen Hurns was on the IR last year, and Jakeem Grant also has an injury history. So we're looking at 5 of the 6 starters or guys who are going to see significant time on the football field have all struggled with injury at one point or another in their NFL career, and they were enough to really kind of keep them off the field consistently. The question mark is health for sure, and whether guys like Preston Williams and Albert Wilson can take a step forward after last season. So I'm going to give them about a B grade. I could see a B minus, but there's also just a question mark next to that because it has the potential to grow, also has the potential to fall off a lot. Okay, so where do the Dolphins rank among the rest of the NFL in terms of their receivers? Pro Football Focus has them ranked as the 29th receiving core coming into the 2020 NFL season, and I actually do disagree with this one a little bit. I'd like to read you some of the teams that are ranked above the Dolphins that I just don't see as being that much better than the Dolphins in the 2020 season. We've got the New York Jets sitting at 28, and I flat out disagree with this one. I think the Dolphins are a better receiving core. The Jets have way more question marks at the receiving position, including a rookie Denzel Mims. You've got Brashad Perryman, who, I mean, he had a decent season last year, but he's a very unproven type of guy who finally enjoyed that type of breakout, if you want to call it that. The most consistent guy is going to be Jamison Crowder, and then you throw all of that on top of the fact that Adam Gase is the one calling the shots on the offensive side of the ball. It just doesn't seem like that's going to be a more productive unit than what we have in Miami. The Chicago Bears are also ranked above the Miami Dolphins, and I just don't agree with this one either. The Bears just don't have very much. They're sitting with Allen Robinson and a bunch of guys who I just don't think are going to produce. You've got an old and past his prime Ted Ginn Jr. You've got Darnell Mooney. You have Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, who is a rookie. I don't see this receiving corps producing more than the Dolphins coming this season. They might prove me wrong, but I just don't believe that the star power of Allen Robinson can make this unit outperform Miami alone. So there's one last team that I do want to talk about that I just don't think the Dolphins are going to be worse than in this coming season, and that's the New York Giants. So with the Giants coming into the 2020 season, we've got Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard leading the way, with guys like Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram also there to catch the ball. I just think that there's too much inconsistency in terms of injury history. Some of these guys just have not produced enough for me to believe that they're going to just have a breakout season that's going to lead to this Giants receiving corps being better than Miami's, especially with the fact that Devante Parker broke out how he did last season. Preston Williams on pace for a nice season as well, and then the depth that Miami also does have. And so because of that, I'm looking at Miami moving 3 spots up to 26th in the NFL. Certainly not one of the best. They're towards the bottom, but like I said, guys, I think they do have the potential to move up. So if I'm going to regrade that almost, I'm going to say maybe they're at about a C+, that kind of range. But it does have the potential to grow and to expand especially under Chan Gailey's system, where you could consider Mike Gesicki almost another receiver. There is tons of potential for this unit to grow and expand its talents under Chan Gailey and especially under Brian Flores. So guys, let me know what you think down below. Do you think that this is an accurate ranking of the receiving crew for the Miami Dolphins coming into the 2020 season? If you agree or disagree, please feel free to leave your comments and thoughts down below, and we'll get talking. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. Really appreciate all the support. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to do so, and hit that bell so you know when this video series is continuing on and we're releasing more videos. Also, like I said earlier, feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about everything. And then what are you looking forward to the most coming up next? Which positions group are you really curious to see how we rank? And what are you excited to talk most about? So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend coming up. And as always, fins up.